Welcome back, everybody, to the next episode of Cinema Files. Today we'll be discussing La La Land, which is a movie musical from the 2010s that has just been, it's so good. It's had such an impact on, I think, the film industry.
Oh, for sure. Like,
that's, give us a summary.
There are so many people, like, that you either haven't watched this movie or it's your favorite movie ever.
Yeah.
And just because of, like, a multiple of reasons. Because I feel like this is such a movie musical where it's a work of art, all of it. Because every little detail and everything has, like, put so much work into it from the people who did costumes, choreography, music, and then actors who have Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling, who always put everything into whatever character they do. So I love this movie just because it's, like, everything you could ever want, all put into one.
Absolutely. I think it's so interesting that as a movie musical, it incorporated so many theater elements along with so many classical film elements.
Mm-hmm. So as a summary, if you haven't watched it, my advice to you is to watch it. And if you do, watch it alone because you will cry. Yeah. Okay? Like, it is absolutely, like, heart-wrenching at the end, but it's such a good movie. It's, like, it makes me happy every time I watch it. So, in summary, these two characters, Mia and Sebastian, they both have dreams to make it big in whatever field they were going for. Sebastian in his love for jazz music and wanting to own a jazz club. And then Mia is an aspiring actress and playwright. So this story is like a balance between like dreams and reality and how that intertwined with their romance together and how ultimately they loved each other so much they realized they needed to be separate so they could achieve each other's dreams, which I think is so beautiful. Oh my god. Okay. So from there, I feel like something else really big with the storytelling is colors in this movie. It's such a vivid and bright movie, and it's so obvious that this like story was told to be like an homage to like old Hollywood and like the golden age of film. So they use a lot of those vivid colors to like tell that kind of story and use like contemporary elements just to like blend it all into one.
Absolutely. And like how you mentioned earlier, costuming was such a big part of that film, and so much of the color coding that they use for these scenes comes from their costumes.
Absolutely. I know from from the beginning they each have their own kind of like color palette. Sebastian started out kind of like I guess kind of like not really dull, but then once he met colors. Yeah, monotone but colors. And then Mia started out with her and all of her friends in her apartment just being so vivid, and her dreams are just like there. And whenever they met, I know Mia was wearing was it yellow or blue? Blue. There was a different scene with the yellow dress, and Sebastian was wearing red.
Are we counting the car scene or the club scene as the first meet?
They didn't really meet in the car scene.
And then they connected in the club, and she was wearing a blue dress.
They connected in the club. She was wearing a blue dress. And then, like, the party scene, whenever they first started, like, talking. They're like, why do we keep meeting? And then after that, their big dance at sunset, which was so beautiful. They each, like, kind of had their little singing moment. And the sky was purple. And a common thing throughout this movie is, like, whenever they're together and their relationship is at a height, it's always purple. Like between like the stars and the observatory planetarium thing, and then the sky and the dance. And I think there was like, I wrote down a couple of things. There was purple trash cans on the outside during their first date. Just stuff like that.
Wait, really? I didn't even notice that.
There were purple trash cans whenever he like picked her up in the car.
That's so
It was
cute.
really cute.
It's really great because there's a lot of primary colors in there, which really represent like the showiness of the whole Hollywood lifestyle. But when they were together, that's something real and more than just those basic colors. So then it turns into purples and greens even, and it's really interesting.
And whenever their relationship starts to get like rocky, or there's like disagreements, or just they're not together, there's always like green happening. Yes. There was green lighting whenever they had their first fight at that dinner table, and then there was like green dresses at some point when she's like driving past the movie theater where they had their first date. And then there was even at one point when she was doing an audition for something where like the background was green, and like that was while they were fighting. So
I mean, even as far as color theory goes, purple and green stand so far away from each other in contrast. And even symbolism wise, like purple for so long has been used as symbolism as a passionate color, whereas green has usually been used in envy as an evil signifying color. I don't know. I love how they play
it just
with those
kind
themes.
of like heightens like the difference in their relationship, how it went from they were so close to like they're so far. And at the very end, the last scene, whenever Mia comes with her new husband in the jazz club that Sebastian owns now, And like the last scene is just lit by purple whenever they're looking at each other, which it's so sad because they still loved each other, but like they knew they needed to move on because they wanted each other to achieve their dreams, and it's just so heart-wrenching. Oh my gosh.
It's so beautiful how something as simple that you don't usually think of as color in a movie can really tell the entire story. And Damien Chazelle, the director, is such an expert of color. Even in his other movie, Whiplash, you see color is used so much and in such interesting ways.
I mean, in Whiplash, they used primarily, what was it, yellow and blue?
Like very yellows and blues, but still, it very much told the story in a similar, even though not quite a specific way, as La La Land.
Very good at using that color tool effectively.
And something else I found out, he wrote this as like a in college while in his dorm room.
Oh,
he wrote this
wow.
entire movie, and it was originally set in Boston, which is kind of crazy because like it just would make so much sense that it was like set in like Hollywood movie town.
Yeah, thematically, it aligns a lot better.
For sure. Yeah.
I mean, La La Land, LA.
Yeah, and it's also impressive that he did this and he was so young. You know, like I was looking at videos of him talking about it, and like you have so much thought out about this movie, and you're so young. Like this is something that people like master their whole lives to do, you know? And something else like directorial stuff. I love the different kind of like camera strategies they use. The things whenever they whip back and forth in like the jazz club when Mia's dancing and Sebastian's like playing. It's so impressive that that's like all one take, and it's not like a.
I love the whip pan. I could watch it scene over and over again. I think it's so neat.
I think it was cool because in the first scene, in the sun scene with all the cars on the interstate, I love how they used like actual setting, like locations instead of like sound stages and stuff, because they had to close off that interstate. But they could only do it because all of those scenes at like sunset and golden hour, that only lasts for like 30 minutes. So they had to do that like 2 days in a row, and they had to shut down an entire interstate for one massive dance scene that didn't even have the main characters until the end. And I was just like, whoa.
And
the practical, I'm sorry.
Oh, no,
the
sorry.
Practical production design adds so much, brings so much of that classic old Hollywood feel. Even the fact that she's working on this sound stage, and whenever they walk by, and the Casablanca reference of the of the balcony, it just really brings you into that setting of this romanticized version of LA, where if you go to LA, it's probably not like that.
But yeah. And the dance scene at sunset, that was filmed like actually at sunset. They did it 2 days, and they had 30 minutes in that window to get that perfect purple lighting. And they only did about like 2-3 takes.
Yeah.
And it's such a long scene where they're dancing and they're singing, and like everything has to be perfect.
And everything's choreographed.
And
like,
it's so impressive
on the last,
both of
like
them.
in 1917, everything was choreographed. This movie is almost just like that because everything was choreographed, and there's so many extras, especially in all those dance scenes or in like the clubs where it's like they're just dining, and then they turn around and they start snapping. Like, everybody's snapping because it's all choreographed.
I saw that the choreographer,
so,
whenever
like,
they were
detailed.
filming the opening scene on the highway, she, like, had to hide underneath the car because she wanted to be on set while that was happening. So,
And I love how they don't use any of the other people's voices. It's all Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling during that scene. Whenever somebody else is singing, it's their voices, which is really interesting.
yeah.
How do you think that connects thematically?
I don't know. I've been trying to think about that.
Maybe it's all in their head.
I feel like analyzing this,
Yeah.
I was saying earlier, is like I'm doing like an AP Lit analysis essay. It's like how this element, like, contributes this to the story.
Shout out Miss Cottrell.
Shout out Miss Cottrell, love you. And shout out Jada. She was supposed to be here today, but she's sick. She loves this movie just as much as we do.
Rest in peace.
Yeah.
Rest in peace. Hopefully she doesn't die.
But we were talking about that dance scene at sunset. You know that later in the movie when they after they break up and they meet up after the audition, it's the same location, but it's like during the day, kind of almost in the evening, so it's almost a callback to when they first kind of like really, I feel, when they first really connected really emotionally, and even though they were still both denying it. But it's like in the light when they see all their problems and all their lack of communication and how they have to separate to cause their dreams. It's like the light was literally shed on everything.
I feel like this movie is so much about just, you know, obviously dreams and then having to kind of negotiate with your dreams. Like Seb, for example, he wanted his bar in his specific place, but then he has to adjust his dreams, and they don't get together at the end, adjust their dreams. But in the end, it turns out good, even though it's a sad ending. In the end, They're both happy.
Yeah, they both got what they'd always dreamed of, but they couldn't do it together. But it was worth it because they knew they loved each other, so they're willing to like sacrifice that.
It was also sad because, like, in their separation, she moved on and she had a kid and she had a husband. But when we see him, his
just
face
there.
says that he waited for her, and I kind of wanted to cry.
Oh, I know. I cried that.
But
like,
he understood that
the
they were
whole
going to
end.
come back together after they both got their dreams. But she moved on entirely, and I was just like, ugh.
And another
Kills me.
massive aspect of this movie, I mean, coming from jazz, is music.
Oh,
And the theme, Mia and Sebastian's theme, it's like a 7-note song, and it just like sums up their relationship entirely. And it's so like it's such iconic music. Before I even watched the movie, I was like, oh, I know that's from La La Land,
Yeah.
because I've heard people talking about it. It's just so recognizable, and it's so like in the movie.
the
It's
Stars
so
song?
unique to it.
The Stars song?
City of
no,
Stars.
there's City of Stars, and there's the
And their main theme.
yeah. I'm not gonna sing it for you guys. I was about to, then I was like, maybe I shouldn't do that on here, but and then like each of their little musical numbers, like for Mia, for Someone in the Crowd, her talking about like maybe this will be like her big break with
that was
acting.
an interesting one. I really loved that,
Mhm.
especially that one part where she exits the bathroom
Mhm.
and there's everybody still. Instead of doing like a freeze shot, everybody is standing still, so you see them
Mannequin
move a little bit,
challenge. No.
but
Mhm.
it really just brings you into that very much
yeah,
old Hollywood feel again.
yeah.
I feel like between the intense, intricate choreography and the success of the music and the repeated musical motifs throughout the film and just the staging, the choreography, it really all blends together to create a very Broadway feel, I would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
Like it feels like it's live in front of you. It doesn't feel like it's like fake.
And then at the end, like the epilogue song, whenever they have like it looks like a stage set, like they wheel in stuff, and it's like old Hollywood. They're going to all these different places. Like this is how their lives should have been if they ended up together.
The
It's
epilogue.
just it's so beautiful. And something else that this movie has is like the title cards for each season.
Yeah.
They go through like spring. I think they met in spring, right?
Winter.
Or
That
they
car
know that-
scene. That car scene was in the very first scene was in winter, but it was a hot
Winter,
spell.
and then and then it like keeps going once they started falling in love, like spring, summer, and then fall. That was the only title card that had like a blank screen behind it, because that's whenever they started like
Falling apart.
womp womp.
Things went downhill from there.
Yeah,
Which that part was really interesting too, where they started falling apart. When it was because he was getting his dreams, you know, but not exactly his dreams. It was very
He was-
interesting,
he was-
the dynamic.
He was changing himself. Like his music, he was really traditional, but he started changing himself. But he changed himself too much to completely differently what his dream was, because you still want to change yourself to adapt to getting your dream, but he completely changed himself
yeah.
and lost
He
vision
knew-
of his
yeah,
dream.
He knew he wanted to do jazz and music like full time and make it big, but that wasn't what he was wanting to make it big in, like new contemporary jazz, if that's what you would even call it at that point. But
This is that part of the movie where he joins
John
John
Legend's
Legend's
Yeah.
band.
John
But the
Legend's
music
band.
was good. I
The music, I thought it was good. I was like, I don't know why you're mad.
But by that point in the movie, it seems like they've kind of switched places.
Mm.
Where at the start, Sebastian, he knows exactly what he wants, and he is and even though his ways, okay, let's see if I can explain this. Like, he knows exactly what he wants, and Mia, she's kind of adjusting. She's going for these kind of crappy parts that aren't really, you know, that aren't all that good. But by the point in the fall, Mia is going towards what she wants, even though it's not as successful, and he is taking the easier path. So they very much switched. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
She wrote her one-woman play, and like a couple people showed up, and Sebastian didn't show up because he was gone
So fake.
on some stupid tour with John Legend. Apparently, both John Legend learned how to play the guitar for this movie, and then
I heard that.
yeah, Ryan Gosling learned how to play piano. Apparently, it was like a month or two before.
I thought he spent like 4 months practicing.
Maybe it was 4 months. Maybe I got it wrong. But
The dedication to the role is
I know
amazing.
that's so awesome, and he was really good at it.
Oh my god.
I feel like, again, that just pours back into this feeling of realism that the movie achieves so well.
And their chemistry was just like, you can't fake that kind of stuff with actors. Like, that's why they have like chemistry tests
Yeah,
to make
chemistry
sure
reads.
like chemistry reads. Yeah, it's just so awesome. And they even like at the Oscars afterwards. Riley, you want to talk about that Oscars?
Okay. I was thinking about, reminds me of this year's Oscars,
Mhm.
when she was getting the award for Best Actress,
Actress.
and he was up there singing. All my brain was thinking,
Yeah.
oh my god,
I was like, that's La La Land.
La La Land. But then at that year's Oscars, I distinctly remember they got called up by accident for the winner of Best Picture when the actual winner was Moonlight, so they had to go back down, and it was really awkward.
That's so awkward.
Right?
Yeah, but Ryan Gosling was up there this year for I'm Just Ken. He was up there singing, and then Emma Stone got Best Actress, and it's just like, La La Land. Like, you know, it still lives on. It's still in my brain. It's so real.
Absolutely. Props
Yeah.
to Ryan Gosling for being such an iconic actor that he's been
Absolutely.
on this podcast twice already.
I know.
For
We just
real.
need to make like a whole
Ryan
like this
Gosling.
is a Ryan Gosling fan club. You guys
Yeah.
know. Notebook
I-
coming up next. Blade Runner. I don't know.
We'll find
I
something.
have not watched the movie yet.
You haven't?
I need to watch that.
We're gonna have to watch it because there's an original one.
There's
and
the
then
original one, and there's the
the new
the
one.
new one. That's not
With our
what this is
celebrity.
about.
That's not what this episode's about, but we'll get there maybe.
Anyway,
Anyway.
To pull it back around to the actual topic, City of Stars, we were talking about it earlier.
Yes.
It's repeated so many times in that movie. Singing, piano, like in the first time it's brought up is when he's on the dock by himself and he's just like singing with a hat and twirling by himself, and it's just like, okay, but you're doing it well. So I'm not mad. I don't know what's happening, but I'm here for it.
it's
But
a very intimate, like, personal moment
Yes.
the first time it's sung
because
with
honestly,
Ryan's character.
when I meet somebody, that's how I be acting. That's like I'll be twirling.
City of Stars.
But then it's them singing it together.
At
I think in the
piano.
yeah,
Yes.
and then it's piano during the photo shoot when he's missing her playwright, her one
Yeah.
woman show, and he doesn't want to be there. He's so guilty that when they tell him to play something, he plays a song for her, and it's just like
Yeah.
in the heart.
So fake.
And
Because it's
And
there,
then-
it's like all like such like electric, like new, like colorful, and he's at that electric
Right.
piano, and then he starts doing the little notes of their thing. That's like, oh.
At that point in the film, he's joined the band already, and by
And he
going
knows.
back to this one
He
simple
knows
melody,
he messed up,
he goes back to his core. He goes back to what his heart actually
Yeah.
cares about.
and then everybody's just like, oh, because it's kind of awkward because the photographer is like, play some. And he's like,
And then at the end when we're in Seb's club and he gets up on stage and he introduces his band after they've done playing, and then he catches Emma Stone's eye, Mia's eye, and then he's like he pauses and then he plays that song instead of what he was going to. It kills me because he knows it's gonna
That entire
Bring it all
epilogue
alive again.
sequence,
like I can't.
That entire sequence just gets me every time. And the use, oh my god, the colors in that.
Uh-huh.
They have so many, the primary colors are a very big thing there. Again,
Mm-hmm.
kind of emphasizing that this is fake. It's so romanticized. Like, the entire backgrounds would be like one color.
Mhm.
And it's beautiful.
I was listening to the soundtrack of La La Land yesterday on the way home from the History Club
Real?
Universal field trip, and I was
Yeah.
listening to the epilogue song, and it's so vivid and it sticks with you. Like I was sitting there about to fall asleep, and I was visioning it like in my brain because it's like that. It's that impactful, which I think is so awesome to accomplish like in one movie, especially for such a young director.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
We need to get someone who knows something about music to come on here.
I know.
Because all I can say is it sounds good.
It
I
sounds
know
awesome.
They could explain it a lot better than we could.
They
for
probably
sure.
could.
But I really think it's just that repeated musical motif. Like you said, that 7-note melody. They use it over and over again, and every time they use it, there's a little bit of a different spin on it, a little bit of a different emotion being emphasized. And I think that really carries the flow of where the movie started to where the movie finishes
Oh, for sure.
between the two characters.
I think I read somewhere that Emma Stone was the one who had the idea that Mia comes up with the logo for Sebastian's
Yes.
thing. I think it's so, they had so much involvement in their characters, like writing it and like their,
They're so deep.
the scene where they had the argument at the dinner table, they had like improv some of it. It's just so awesome to see that much of themselves go into those characters because that's what makes it even more real. And about like the whole auditioning, Mia auditioning for stuff, and how that's like such a reality for a lot of actors. It's just awesome.
That final, when she's auditioning for that final part,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
we never know if she gets it, but that song and how just the one still shot on her face the entire time,
Mm-hmm.
yet it evokes so much emotion. It's so impressive.
And
That's
it's
great.
like just her face acting because like when they zoom out, her body didn't do anything, but it's all her face and her mind and her imagination, and it's just like
It's just everything going into the movie is just so impressive. Like whether it's
So much
song or
thought.
just attention to detail, it's so like masterfully done. It's like an
Absolutely.
entire work of art. That whole movie.
And even that one scene, her final audition, it stands in such stark contrast to every other audition she's done, where she's really pouring a lot of her body into it, really pushing outward rather than showing what she has inside.
yeah.
And I feel like she really accomplishes that by showing just her face.
And that's when she makes it big.
Mhm.
And like the kind of call back to the first scene where Mia worked at the coffee shop and
That
like
big
seeing the
actress
actors
came in.
coming in, and then at the end she was the actress coming into the coffee shop.
Yes, that parallel scene.
There's so
Mhm.
many parallels.
There are so many like
So
foreshadowing,
good.
parallel callbacks. It's so many.
There's just a lot of. It's very like thought out.
You can watch it. I feel like you can watch it a million times.
Yeah.
And never get bored. Always find something new to appreciate
Yeah.
and notice. It's
Mhm.
great.
The nuance is always there in every scene. You can always pick up something different.
It always makes you cry in the end. So
Yes.
So long story short, go watch it if you haven't.
But even in the epilogue, things don't end up perfectly. They're both going to this club, so you assume it's not Seb's club because he's sitting there next to her.
Mm-hmm.
So it might would have worked out perfect for her.
yeah.
But then not for
Not
him.
him.
It's just
So
interesting.
it just like because their romance ultimately was what held them back from achieving each other's dreams because they needed to go separate directions and there was
Yeah.
no way to make that possible with the both of them.
But they still had such
But,
an
yeah.
impact on each other's life. They were dating less than a year,
Mhm.
I think,
Yeah.
and still used
always
her
remember it.
logo for his restaurant.
Mhm.
So crazy.
Restaurant,
Restaurant,
jazz
bar,
club.
jazz club, whatever. Chicken on a stick.
Chicken on a
Not
stick.
on a stick anymore.
Not chicken on a stick. Chicken on a stick was what he wanted to call his jazz club. And then-
Originally.
Yeah, and he was like, no.
We all support her influence on that decision.
I think that's what helped to make it big. If it was chicken on a stick, nobody would.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mia.
He explained all the references and it was sort of clever, but chicken on a stick to any just passerby, I'd be like,
Mhm. If I saw maybe if I saw a jazz club named Chicken on a Stick, I might have to pop in. I don't know.
but how would you know it's
Like,
a
what's
jazz
this place?
club?
That's true. What is this place all about? I'd go in and think it's like Chicken Shop Date, the
Yeah.
one interview. What's the lady who interviews? I forgot.
I
I don't
don't
even
know.
know.
The chicken shop dudes are just so fun.
Mhm. The British girl that interviews like Jack Harlow. I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like that's something this movie does so well is the romanticization of the jazz club. Like even if you wouldn't go to Chicken on a Stick, you would definitely walk into Seb's. Like you can see the atmosphere that they present in that club in the movie. And I know every time I watch it, I'm just like, I want to go there. I want to be there. The vibes are wonderful.
The vibes are there,
Oh
and I'm
my
gonna go to
goodness.
Mia's one woman play because I know she put
Absolutely.
everything into that.
And I know she ate.
Yeah,
She
and that
did.
lady,
And
And then I want her to serve me coffee at her little coffee place afterwards.
you know that. Go ahead. No.
Sorry. Just going back to that contrast of realism versus idealism, the romanticization of all these different locations versus what we now know, the struggle they had to go through to achieve what they wanted.
Which really is a big point of having in LA. I don't know how they would have ever done it in Boston as much. But with LA, that romanticized thing that everybody has, the old Hollywood, but in real life,
It's really
it's not exactly that.
Yeah.
So it's the perfect location for a story about idealism versus realism. So I just think it's great.
Amber, what were you going to say earlier?
I don't even
Brain
remember.
fart.
Oops.
I just have so many thoughts like about this movie. I'm like, oh, this. But I think that
It's a
Anything
wrap.
else we want to cover?
Anything else?
I think so.
There's tons to cover, but
Oh.
we only have one class period.
Is there anything else you want to add?
No, I'm good.
No. Okay. Well, I think that wraps it up.
Watch the movie. If
That's
you
Watch
watched
the
it.
movie if you
And
haven't.
If you have watched it, watch it again.
Watch the
Because
movie.
Exactly. It won't hurt you.
It won't hurt. It'll do you good.
Well, it'll hurt a little bit.
It'll
might
hurt your
hurt.
heart, but
a
like
good
your
cry
you-
every once in
yes.
a while is good.
Yes.
It's healthy. It's healthy.
Alright.
Thank you, everybody, so much for tuning in today, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.